Hello. I had a great question today about lesson 2, number 2, and it was, Mr. Miskey, I can do the question graphically, but I'm not as sure algebraically, which is a wonderful question to ask because we want to make sure we appreciate these questions both in their graphical form and their algebraic form, because the reality is eventually the numbers will get really large or ugly, for lack of a better term, in which case drawing a graph isn't going to work. So let's dive into this. So the question is, given M34 is the midpoint of AB and the point A is negative 1, 1, find the coordinates of B. So graphically, we simply graph these points and then figure out the B value. So let's look. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 3, 4. So let's put that M. 3, 4. Always good to label our graph. Now I have a grid on here, but again, if you didn't have a grid, you could do this in the spirit of the graph. A is negative 1, 1, which is right here. So the idea is that if we travel from A to M, that's half the distance. So what we do here is, if we want to go double the distance, we just count the slope off. So let's see, we go up 3. So that's 3, and then we go across 1, 2, 3, 4. So up 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's B. Therefore, B is the point 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 7. So B is 7, 7. And that's how we'd solve this problem graphically. Okay, but let's think about algebraically. So again, if I see here I'm talking about the midpoint, so I'm going to remind myself of the midpoint formula. And we know the midpoint formula, M, is x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. So what I like to remind students again is every time you use a formula, write it down. It's going to help you memorize it. It's a good passive memorization technique. I've done lots of questions and I still write down formulas all the time, partly because I just think they look neat. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to break this up into the two parts. So if we know that M is already the point 3, 4, and we know A is the point negative 1, 1, we need to find B, and let's call it XY. Okay. So we can break up our midpoint calculation into the x component and the y component. So if the midpoint for the x is 3, we know that 3 is equal to negative 1 plus x all over 2. And now we break up the y component, so then we know 4 is equal to 1 plus y over 2. So therefore, now we just need to do some algebra. So we're going to multiply both sides by 2, so we get 6 is equal to negative 1 plus x. So therefore, x is equal to 7. We're going to get 8 is equal to 1 plus y. Therefore, y is equal to 7. Therefore, the point B is the point 7, 7. So algebraically with this question, what you need to do is you need to take the midpoint formula and break it up into the x and y component, and then substitute in what you know, and wonderfully we have one unknown, and we can isolate for that unknown in each case. That is the x and the y case. I hope that video helped.